Okay, so coriander powder is maligned because people who can't eat coriander leaf imagine that the same affliction affects coriander powder, so it doesn't. To taste coriander powder on its own, so you can see it has this beautiful pollen-like consistency, so very, very fine. If I compare it with a heavier spice like, say, fennel, you can see the difference in texture. So fennel has a smoother texture, it's slightly a heavier weight in terms of powder, where the coriander seed, because you're playing with a ground seed that is more desiccated than a fennel seed, the end result of the powder is similarly or converts to a powder that has a slightly different textural quality. So there's two textures in the coriander powder. There's a very fine texture and then there's the husk. It has a little bit of texture in there as well. And in the mouth, it plays like pollen. So it's quite difficult to taste. It's very ephemeral. It's there and then it's not. So let me just get rid of you, fennel. No offense, you'll have a starring role another day. But for now, it's coriander. So just to try that, so delicious. Coriander powder, the quality of your coriander powder matters enormously because it doesn't hold a lot of character because it is so lightweight that you really do need to have fresh, beautiful coriander powder. By fresh, I mean, you know, like please less than 2 years old. Please, if you have coriander powder in your pantry that you've had forever, get rid of it and get something new. You won't even know the spice. She is so stunningly beautiful. So very lemony. There's a chamomile quality, and that's that sort of herbaceousness of the coriander plant itself. It's very earthy. There's a slight nutty element in there as well that's quite recessed. And there's this big sort of spacious openness in the seed that makes it a beautiful combination with salt. The salt will fill in the spaces of coriander and project it further. So I was in Melbourne recently and I was making a little bit of dinner with Misha, who runs We Are Kerala. So he is an incredible chef. His family is Keralan, but he has a knack with food generally. So what was interesting about chatting to Misha was the way that he described coriander powder for him is being basically they use a lot of it in their food to create a textural density in the spice mix. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. I do the same thing with this spice whenever I use peas or beans or anything that's any type of vegetable that doesn't take in flavour, but that needs flavour to sort of be wrapped around it and stuck onto the outside of it. So I'm going to show you a little quick blend, quick mix. Right. Oh, these flies. Okay, so going to keep this spice mix really simple, okay, because it's not technically about the spice mix, it's about showing you how coriander powder works. So a little bit of salt, but of course, being me, I can't not make it delicious because we will eat it. Half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, half a teaspoon of Kashmiri chili, like a generous half teaspoon of ginger powder, some cumin seed and a little bit of jaggery, so the refined cane sugar, which I have hidden in my cupboard. So for sweetness, just because I love it with peas, a little bit of ghee. Well, you know, a lot of ghee, but I do love my ghee. And then I'm going to put this on the stove to heat. Did you manage to get that fly sweeping past as well?
I got it all.
Good. But what I want you to notice, really, more than anything else, is how thin that spice blend is. Now, by thin, I don't mean that it's not delicious. And if I was going to be, you know, putting some pre-fried cauliflower or pre-fried potato in here, I would just leave it as is, because the cauliflower and the potato, when it's been pre-fried or pre-roasted, will naturally, you know, has a lot of space to soak up, for want of a better term, all of that oil and that spice. But peas, beans, those vegetables have no capacity to absorb flavour. You know, so you want the flavour to stick to the outside of them and cement, and that's really what this coriander powder does. So, in a normal capacity, I would put this coriander powder in and maybe some tomatoes and create the gravy and then put the peas on top. But because I'm trying to show you the way in which coriander powder facilitates the marriage of the pea to the spice, I'm going to do it a little bit differently, okay? So I'm going to put the pea in. Okay. And, oh, I peed on the floor. I have to say it. Again. Okay, so see that? Now, the pea is not at all taking on the spice. So the spice is sort of at the bottom of the pan and the pea's rolling, oh my God, we're actually rolling around and rolling out.
Escapees.
Escapees. Cameraman humour. They're escapees. But wait. I'm going to put sort of, you know, what would be 2 teaspoons in, and look at the effect that it has. So the coriander powder, because of its texture, works like wet sand when it encounters the fats and the oil. And suddenly, now the coriander powder is working as a glue between the other spice and the produce and the fat. And so a dish that it would have been disappointing, you know, because it's always disappointing when you put effort in and then, like, it doesn't stick, literally in this case, figuratively sometimes. Then using a spice like coriander powder can just help facilitate that marriage between slippery escapist produce and your masala. The peas are sweet, the masala is earthy, the coriander is lemony, which, if you consider, you know, this goes to primary character, sweetness of pea and that lemon. Pea and lemon is a really beautiful flavour marriage. You could mash these and create spicy mushy peas and then put a piece of fish on top, you know, barbecued or steamed fish, cooked really simply. So you can see how just the addition of that one super functional spice, coriander powder, has really changed the whole tone of the dish. Every spice has that capacity in a different way, which is why I hope you'll stay and you'll learn with me, because sharing these discoveries, I just feel like it's, I don't know, I feel like it's just all hiding in plain sight, and it's a kind of culinary gold. So give it a go.